Hi, this is LINDSEY KETCHEL, and I get the honor of serving as the Executive Director of Landmark Conservancy, and we're here today to introduce you and welcome you to our Tyler Forks celebration. We're excited to share with you Tyler Forks Community Forest. This is a very unique landscape, and while traditionally our celebrations would be in person, this time it's going to be done virtually. And we actually think you're going to have a lot of fun today. You're going to learn a lot more about this unique property. It has unique topography. It has some unique critters living on there. It has amazing trout streams. So we think you're going to learn a lot, and we're very excited because we have some experts who are going to be joining us today to give us a little bit more of a deeper insight of some of the unique characteristics that this beautiful property has to offer. And at some point in time, maybe in the next 6 to 9 months, you'll be able to come out in person and visit.
My name's Pam, and I manage the Stewardship grant program that awarded some of the state money, or all of the state money, that contributed to this purchase. And I've been running the program for 10 years, so I'm connected to all kinds of land trust purchases in the state, and this is one of my favorite projects. I'm not supposed to have favorites, but Tyler Forks it's exceptional, I think, not only because of its size, but we at the DNR implement state law, so we're authorized to award grants for some specific purposes. And one of the great things about this project is that there's a lot of overlapping purposes here. We are allowed to award grants and to support wildlife habitat and wildlife-based recreation. We have one sub-program that's specifically for stream bank protection and conservation of some of the quality trout streams in the state. We've got a grant program that supports state trail land acquisition, and although this is not a state trail property, the North Country Trail is in the neighborhood, and I think it adds value to that corridor. So there are all these reasons that Tyler Forks sort of hits the overlapping targets of those sub-programs, and it was a super fun project to work on. I also really appreciate when we are able to fund land acquisition that adds value to other either stewardship funded nonprofit-owned properties or state-owned properties in the state. And Copper Falls State Park is next door, and it's one of the most popular parks in the parks program. We manage use on this narrow, skinny property, and a lot of people love it. And when we are able in the grant program to add value to some of those incredibly popular places by expanding the conservation neighborhood and ensuring the buffer around that and ensuring the water quality running into it, I feel pretty good about the value we are adding with our partners.
Tyler Forks Community Forest is going to do a great job of protecting a lot more of the Bad River watershed, which is extremely important to the local community and this area. It has a rich history here back from the CCC days, logging, and then Native American populations here. So this whole area is very culturally significant and also has a lot of valuable natural resources that's going to bring to protect. And not only that, it's going to provide a lot of rich opportunities for others to come and enjoy these natural resources. It's going to provide more opportunities for hunters and anglers, bird watchers, wildlife watchers, and people that just want to go out and hike and enjoy time or a little bit extra time with their family and nature. That's invaluable opportunities to have, and that's something that Tyler Forks Community Forest is going to be able to provide.
Hi, my name is Rick Neville, and I'm a new board member for Landmark Conservancy. And as a retired professional, I can tell you the key to a successful career is building healthy professional relationships. As a new board member, it's very encouraging for me to see Landmark working in so many different partnerships while overseeing a diverse portfolio of land holdings. We're incredibly fortunate to have thoughtful and professional staff who see the value of community conservation and land protection. A number of you have already provided important financial support to the Tyler Forks Community Forest, and we want to thank our key partners, including Wisconsin's Knowles-Nelson Stewardship Program and the U.S. Forest Service, and acknowledge our generous business sponsors and donors. Thank you for your role in supporting permanent protection of the Tyler Forks Community Watershed and these 590 acres of forested land. And on behalf of Landmark and its board, I can say that we feel some degree of solace knowing that this acquisition and these properties help so many folks find peace during these uncertain times. We've been so pleased with the initial support for building recreational experiences, using the land for education and research, and work to protect its unique natural resources and watershed. We will continue working to promote awareness of this new community forest and the recreational opportunities it offers, hoping that much needed support will follow. Your help is needed today and tomorrow so that we can continue to invest in early infrastructure and plan for the long-term stewardship needs of Tyler Forks Community Forest. Please reach out if you are interested in helping build and maintain trails, and consider it a gift towards the long-term protection of this special place. Thank you for your ongoing support as we can serve Wisconsin's natural legacy for everyone, forever. Thank you.
We're standing along the Tyler Forks River, which runs through the community forest for almost a mile of its length. The river was just one major feature that drew us, Landmark Conservancy, to want to protect this property. We're a land trust, and our mission is to protect Wisconsin's natural heritage for everyone, forever. And we work in northwest Wisconsin and west Wisconsin to do our work. This property is in the Tyler Forks River watershed, and that eventually drains in the Lake Superior. By protecting the land and managing it in its forested state, we're able to provide ecological services, wildlife habitat, carbon storage, healthy air, healthy water quality, forest resources, and that benefits all of us in future generations. This community forest is adjacent to Copper Falls State Park, which itself is protected, and the community forest is a large property. It's 590 acres in size. We have been able to create a larger, intact land complex, which provides corridors for the movement of plants and animals. All of this helps build resiliency in the face of climate change.
We are fortunate to have this preserved. And like all beautiful places with a lot of variation around, a lot of it gets back to the geology and what the geologic history is. And in this place, the big part of the geologic story is glaciation. And the glaciation here is called the Wisconsin glaciation because northern Wisconsin has these features so beautifully preserved. And this is a classic place to look at it. So this is like a classic place of classic geology, of glacial stagnant ice feature.
Landmark Conservancy is also really excited about the recreational opportunities that the Tyler Forks Community Forest provides a local and regional community. And one of those things is fly fishing here, especially at the Tyler Forks River.
I love the way the land sort of moves and the way the water moves through it. There's a lot of cool shelf rock and rapids and cataracts and things like that. You don't normally see a lot of that stuff around here, at least that's accessible and fishable. It's a pretty unique stretch of water.
With every acre that we are able to protect, we're honored to get the legacy of open space for all of us. Here you can connect to nature by hiking the trails. You can sit under the northern hardwood forest and relax. We hope to offer a range of trails from easy to more challenging in the years to come, including improving the trail access and connection to the state park, which is right next door. and we welcome input and assistance from folks if you'd like to volunteer. We hope to see you on the trail.
Hey everyone, since you can't be here with us today celebrating our new Tyler Forks Community Forest, we thought we'd take you on a virtual hike. So we're gonna take you on a hike and listen to some sounds of nature here and stop from time to time just to give a little extra information on all the great aspects of this property. So let's go. This is the Meadow Trail right off of the Welcome Trail. Quick, easy stroll just to introduce you to the property. There's remnants of farm within the meadow. There's old cement from a barn, and then it's also believed that it was pasteurized sometime earlier before we obtained it. And it's a great place to look at the stars at night, nice open field. Recently now it's been overtaken by prairie species, including goldenrod and an array of different fern species. Here we have staghorn sumac. Staghorn sumac is a culturally relevant species to the indigenous people in this area. Its wood is used for creating maple sugar taps, along with the buds are ground down to make a spice, a lot like cinnamon, and then it's also really good in tea. Also within this meadow we have goldenrod, which is home to a bunch of different insect species, and bracken fern with that, and then a few reindeer lichen mixed in, which all are early successional species which come in after disturbance, like a big rain event. It's retaking the landscape and returning back to its natural habitat.
Great.
Another great thing about this Tyler Forks property is it's right adjacent to Copper Falls State Park, but unlike Copper Falls, it is unzoned at Tyler Forks for hunting and fishing. So any place that you find that looks decent, come on out and hunt. And then on top of that, we also are here with one of the previous landowners to talk a little bit about the forest and its structure.
Like, this is pretty typical, in my mind, northern hardwood stand. Usual basswood, birch, maple, so on, and that make up the stand. It was purchased by my father-in-law, his hunting property, and on this very hill, which we have come to call Bill's Hill. Bill has since passed away, but I wish he was here to tell the story. He was up here sitting on his stump one day, and a huge buck came wandering up the draw here. And he had an old lever-action Marlin 30-30, and he cocked it and brought it up, and his mitten got stuck in the trigger, and as he said, he sent one off to Saskatchewan. Of course, the deer wheeled and turned. He didn't hunt the next day. He was disgusted. My son and I came up here. My son sat on this hill. Here comes the same buck. We drove into the yard that night, and his grandfather stuck his head out the door and said, "That's my buck!" He one-upped his grandfather, which tickles him to death to this day.
Oh, that's good. Well, Doug, I think you make some great points. So I'm John Martin, professor of forestry at Northland College, and those sorts of stories and those sorts of habitat encounters are all too common up here on a big area of land like you see at Copper Falls. We have a continuous then forest next to Copper Falls, and with this Tyler Forks property, we're adding another 590 acres. And even though, like Doug said, it was harvested years ago, you can't tell. And so with species like this, where we've got basswood and we've got sugar maple, and there's hemlock in here. These are trees that do well in shade, and there's a number of them regenerating in different age classes. We've got little ones and bigger ones, and selective harvest in here can just propagate that forest for eternity.
Here's another spot on the Tyler Forks property. It is called a vernal pool. It finds its maximum depth in the spring, but we're in autumn right now and it's still full of water. It's home to a lot of insects and other predatized species because there's no presence of fish in here. Tons of these kettles are vernal pools around the Tyler Forks property are essential for slowing the flow of water and keeping the river systems clean of sediment during these big rain events. And then this is just one type of pool on this property. This consists mostly of ash, but there's also a lot of cedar and hemlock stands around here, and most of them are also lined with yellow birch, which is a really nice species to see in this area.
So everyone, we're on one of our last stops and we are at Scott Taylor Creek. Scott Taylor Creek flows into the Tyler Forks River. And right at this point at Scott Taylor Creek, I think you can really probably get an idea or sense of the past cattle grazing. So you see old cedar posts that are in the floodplain here. It's very flat, it's very wide, most likely because the cattle held here, they grazed here, and they basically kind of just beat down the bank, the river bank, the stream bank over time. There's also been a lot of beaver activity in this area. And then upstream, Scott Taylor Creek is very much more canyon-like. And then downstream, it again is a little bit more narrow as it gets towards Tyler Forks River.
Thanks for coming on this hike with us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know we did, listening to the sounds of nature and seeing some of our favorite sights on this property. We hope to see you out here again soon. And we always welcome new volunteers and donations to help us complete these trails that you might have noticed weren't completely done. So get out here and get in contact, and we'll see you soon.
So we're really lucky today to have Ann and Doug Barncard with us. They were the landowners who contacted Landmark Conservancy a number of years ago because they wanted to see this property protected in its natural state. And we saw a lot today on the hike. We saw a lot of beautiful natural features. We're really excited for you all to be visiting the property at some time in the future. And Ann and Doug, could you tell us a little bit more about what makes this property special to you?
Well, we did miss some wildlife that we have enjoyed over the years. We've seen mama bears with 3 cubs. We've seen foxes. We have had bear visitors on the porch of our little cabin. We've seen albino deer. What else have we seen? The coyotes howling at night. Just been a place where we can feel like we are away from the hustle and bustle and with nature.
It was a special treat when Ann's father purchased this property, and he did so to give his grandsons a place to hunt. And he himself wanted to begin hunting deer after he retired. He had no time while he was working. So we had many great times up here. He gave us permission to build a cabin on it, which we used extensively year-round, but mostly with no snow.
Right.
Snowshoeing in and out got to be a little old quickly. But the history on this property, I wish I knew more about it. And the place the cabin sits on, there's a foundation for an old barn. Obviously, there was livestock grazed here. You find a fence now and then, an old fence. It's really been an interesting piece of property, and I know it will be appreciated by generations to come now.
We're so appreciative of Landmark Conservancy and the wonderful job they've done gathering people to make the best kind of place for people to enjoy.
Well, thanks so much for spending time with us today. I hope you learned a lot. We know that this is a unique property. We know how important it is that land protection is to making sure that we have high quality recreational experiences. I'm sure if you're a fisherman or woman, these images caught your imagination to want to come up and have a go at some of these amazing streams. But even if you're just looking for a quiet place to hike and find some shade and enjoyment, it'll also provide that too. Thanks and have a nice evening.